Is my Python code slow? Is Python slow? What does that question even mean? And more importantly, what do I do about it? Hello everybody, I'm James Powell, and today we're going to be talking about performance from the perspective of pure Python code. But we're not just going to show you a million micro benchmarks comparing one line of code against another line of code, but instead try to use those micro benchmarks to evolve a better sense of how we even think about performance in the first case, and how we should go about optimizing our code. For those of you who are on our Discord channel, please feel free to make use of that channel during this session to ask any follow-up questions that you might have. We oftentimes post additional material to the Discord channel regarding these sessions, including the materials for the session, as well as parts which you might want to go into a little bit more depth or little extensions of the examples that we show you. For those who are not signed up for Discord, check out the event chat. All of the details are there. Also, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel and make sure you're subscribed to our newsletter. We'll have an announcement for another set of very interesting seminars coming up very shortly. But with that said, why don't I jump right into the material that I prepared for you today. I want to show you the setup that we're going to use for this session, and the setup is, I should say, a little bit different than normal. In fact, the setup took quite a bit of time to put together. I hope you enjoy it. I have a BRAP virtual environment here, and in that virtual environment, I have built different versions of Python. Python 1.5, 2.7, 3.0, 3.8, 3.9, 3.10, 3.11, and 3.12. Because when we talk about is Python fast or slow, well, maybe my version of Python, maybe I'm on 3.12, is going to be fast for a particular operation, but your version of Python, maybe you're on 3.11, might be slow for that optimization, for that performance. And it's definitely the case that the faster Python team is making significant material strides in the speed of Python code. And so we should see that Python 3.12 code is materially faster at some operations than Python 3.11 code and materially faster than Python 3.10 code. Whether or not Python 3.12 code is faster than Python 2.7 code may not be particularly useful for us to consider, although I think it's a little bit interesting and a little bit fun for us to talk about how things used to be in the Python 2 days. But as you know, Python 2 is no longer community supported, so probably it's the case that none of you are still using it. What I can do is I can take a block of code and I can run that code in each one of these interpreters and see what that might look like. And so here you can see I'm importing version from the sys module. I can't import version info from the sys module because that doesn't exist in Python 1.5. And you can see I have all of my builds of Python, some of which were built very recently. I can also define a piece of code. And here you can see I have a piece of code, and I can time how long that piece of code takes to run in each version. And so here we have a very simple piece of code. All it does is start up a Python interpreter, and we can see how long does it take using the timeit module, where that timeit module exists, doesn't exist for Python 1, well, how long that takes. And we can immediately see something very interesting. Python 2 code actually took a long time to do absolutely nothing useful. Python 3 code from 3.8 to 3.12 is a lot better at doing nothing useful, and there seems to be a blip here around the Python 3.9 and 3.10 era where an empty script just starting that up took about twice as long as it takes now in the Python 3.12 era. These kind of benchmarks are moderately interesting, but until we have the ability to derive from these benchmarks a mental model that gives us durable, generalizable performance improvements, I don't know that we can read too much into them. Note that if we were to extend this example very slightly to just print something to the screen, maybe we might be able to take this example and evolve that into something useful. For example, if we took this example and we compared printing out a line of code, printing out something 3 times with 3 print statements versus printing out something 1 time with 1 print statement, and joining up all of the data that we're going to print out, well, we might see a difference there, and we might be able to get a sense that, oh, maybe interacting with the I/O subsystems might be slow, so we should minimize how many times we do that in our program. That's some guidance that I got when I was first learning to program however many years ago. And in fact, we'll see that some guidance that we've been given when we first learned to program or when we first learned to use Python may not still be applicable in the modern Python era. And so let's take a look at the question of where is Python slow and why is Python slow? Well, here I'm going to show you that my test framework will allow me to test a very simple operation like sleeping for a half of a second across all of my Python versions. And I might choose to test some of these things only for Python 3 because looking at the Python 2 comparison might not be that interesting. Here we can see that sleeping for a half of a second takes about a half of a second, and we can get a general sense of how good this timer is. We can see that, okay, it's probably pretty decent. There's going to be some noise. It's not the best way to time something, but it's doing one loop. It's finding the fastest of 5 different runs through that one loop, and you can see that there seems to be a little bit of a blip in older versions of Python where sleeping for a half a second took 2 extra milliseconds. But otherwise, for the most part, I think this is a reasonable way for us to do some very broad assessments of the speed of Python code. In a future session, we will be talking about how to do much more surgical investigations of the speed of your Python code using proper performance analysis tools. But for now, I think we'll just leave it with the time it module as it is. Let's take a look at something that historically we have been told is a very bad idea and very slow in Python. If we have some set of words in a Python list, and we want to join those together by repeatedly performing concatenation using the plus operations in a tight loop. We've been told that this is very, very slow. And in fact, we've been told that this is so slow that the sum function, which otherwise gives you the ability to sum anything, does not give you the ability to sum strings because it says, you know what, use this join operation instead, because it says that repeated addition in a tight loop is going to be very slow. And so let's see, is it really the case? Well, there's our code, and let's see what our timing looks like. Here we go, 429 microseconds per loop in Python 3.12. And if we were to compare it to a version that just does join, well, let's see how long that takes. 61 microseconds per loop. So it seems like that advice is pretty good advice, that joining something with that plus operation generally is slow, and it's still slow, and it may be fundamentally slow. Now here you can see that we might not want to test all of these in all versions of Python, in part because this digit separator doesn't exist in Python in Python 2, but whatever the case may be, I think that we can see that that advice still does hold. Now, how well it holds seems to vary over the versions of Python. And in fact, as we look at narrower micro benchmarks, we may discover that there really isn't any durability to that wisdom. Here, it's the case that something that we were told many years ago, maybe when we first learned Python, is still a durable guidance for how to write faster code. That is to say, the guidance we gave, if we followed it over all the years since we first learned it, it would never lead us astray. Whereas other guidance that we might get might only apply point in time to a specific version of Python, where the moment we upgrade our code, well, we actually are doing the slowest thing instead of the fastest thing. Let's take a look at another micro benchmark. And here, this benchmark is some guidance that we've been given. Let's say we have a list of some words and we're looking for an element in that list. We're doing the contains operation. And so here, we're going to test with that setup code, looking for that contains operation. And here we can see it takes 123 microseconds in Python 3.12 in order to determine whether a string is contained in a list of strings. We're told that we should compare this to an operation where we perform that element checking, that element membership check, using a Python set. And if we try this with a Python set, we'll see that instead of 123 microseconds, it's 22 nanoseconds. Here is a case where, again, our guidance that we've been given many years ago, choose the appropriate data type, and if what you want is a fast membership check, use a Python set instead of a Python list, well, that's definitely still durable advice. Now, the question for exactly why we might choose this, well, there's a confounding factor. Because what if I make this very, very small? Let's make this 10 elements, not 10,000 elements. And we'll make this 10 elements, not 10,000 elements, and we'll run these both in Python in 3 only. Here, it's 130 nanoseconds to determine if an element exists in a 10-element list. And it's 20 nanoseconds, okay, to identify it's in a set. Let's see if we can make this even smaller, maybe 1 element here and here. Here, if it's 1 element, it's 28 nanoseconds in the list case. And it's 20 nanoseconds in the set case. And so as we see, the size of the data set has a strong effect on how long these operations take. And we might anticipate that for some of these operations, for example, if we first got a list and it was our responsibility for turning it into a set to support this operation, the setup time in order to do this operation, if we wanted to do it narrowly for just a membership checking, may end up being slow enough that there's some crossover point where just leaving the data structure as it is better than converting it to a list and then performing the check. Now, obviously, if we have the data structure already in one of these 2 forms from the beginning, well, it seems to be the case that irrespective of the size of the data structure, the set is always better. But we should always keep in mind that these benchmarks have a certain context behind them, and that context is, what do the actual patterns of the data that we're using for this particular line of code look like? What is the actual case that we'll work with a very large data set or a very small data set? What subsequent things might we want to do with this data? Can we actually pay for setup costs up front? Whatever the case, one of the things that this micro-benchmarking approach does ignore is all of that context for how we actually use this code in a real project. Let's take a look at another micro-benchmark. We are told that the scientist-approved for index in range length words version of this code is not a good way to write Python code. We can loop over the entities of a list directly. Now, I don't know about you, but working with scientists or data scientists, it's sometimes very difficult to convince them to write code just because that code is more fluent, because that code is more Pythonic. Instead, they are oftentimes won over by arguments that are a little bit more quantifiable, like the code is faster. So let's see, is it actually slower or faster to loop over the elements of a list doing an extra lookup? It takes 328 microseconds in our latest version of Python for the first version. In the second version, it takes 61 microseconds. And so maybe we go to the scientists and say, no, don't write this code because it's more Pythonic. Write the code this way because it's faster. I don't know that that's very good advice. In fact, I am strongly against the cases where the motivation for why we write some code one way or the other is based off of purely what we have measured as the speed of this code, especially if this isn't something that we've identified as being performance critical. In other words, I'm much stronger of a preference. I have a much stronger preference for code that's more readable, more extensible, code that can be changed later than code that just happens to run faster but has some contortions. In this case, we've discovered that, well, it's the case that the code that we wrote, that we preferred, is also the faster one, so we got lucky, but that may not always be the case. Because, for example, we are told that we should use iteration helpers. Here, in this code, I am not using an iteration helper to get the previous word and the current word from my list of words. I'm just using a regular Python for loop with some loop state. And if I time this code, here you can see it takes me 10 microseconds in order to go through all of the words getting the previous word and the current word. But if I use something that I've been told to use, an iteration helper, like itertools.pairwise, well, if I use itertools.pairwise, it takes 49 microseconds, and that seems to be a performance degradation. Here you can see itertools.pairwise is not available in all versions of Python, but in the versions where it's available, it seems like I got a very slight performance degradation writing the code in a more readable fashion. And if I happened to decide to use not itertools.pairwise, but say an nwise operation, we might say, well, is nwise better than itertools.pairwise? And here we can see, okay, it's about the same timing, but that dumb for loop with a loop state, despite being less readable, despite not making use of all of the functionality of Python, actually just happens to be faster. And this is not too surprising. It is very much the case that we will discover that the really simple approaches in Python are oftentimes faster than the more complicated approaches, even if they might be less readable. Why is that the case? Well, we could argue that this may be because the core Python developers are optimizing the code that they see in the wild, and they're more likely to see the more naive approaches in the wild and the more sophisticated approaches. And so maybe these versions are not well represented in their benchmark test suites. But whatever the case may be, I think this is a very weak argument. I don't think that we should just say, because the code is faster, we should rewrite it in one version or another, because the amount of errors that we could accidentally introduce in this code if, for example, we forgot to set the loop state correctly, or if there was some other issue there, well, those errors might overwhelm the speed advantage that we get. I'm a strong believer that wrong code doesn't matter how fast it runs, and the risk of wrong code is greater than the risk of just having code that's slightly slower. So I need to see a really big performance improvement in order to justify rewriting my code based on some micro benchmark.